When frustrated Manhattan wife Melissa Peake allows herself to be seduced by a mysterious stranger, she is drawn into an ancient war between the Discipline and the creatures known as the Stalkers. Welcome everybody to another exciting episode, another edition of A Week in Geekdom here on YouTube. Now, I am sorry, I haven't posted in a little while, and I was a little under the weather. I still am, but I said to myself, you know what, let's pick out a comic book that you haven't read, a graphic novel, a trade, whatever you want to call it, and probably do like a quick review on it. And it dawned on me that I had picked up this book and I had not read it. Now, I hadn't heard much about it, but the cover and the info seemed interesting enough. Boy, was I in for a treat. Ladies and gentlemen, I had the privilege, I guess you should say, to read The Discipline. Yeah, this yay me. And I will summarize this as simple as humanly possible. Basically, this Manhattan housewife, she's missing her husband and she meets this total stranger named Orlando, and they go on whimsical BDSM weird as shit sexual relations, and they get involved in some crazy occult stuff with the Discipline, which are basically these hierarchy of strange beings that are fighting the Stalkers, which are like werewolves. Listen, all you need to know is this is not that great. I'll be honest with you, and it takes a lot for me to not like a book. I didn't like this at all. I would say my enjoyment of this was pretty much like 10% out of 100. The only saving grace is the art, because I actually really dug it, because it really looked noir-ish, but at the same time infused with colors. Reminded me of something I would see in a Francavilla art. The main issue I have with this, the characters are really underdeveloped. Everything is so rushed. Really, you had an somewhat interesting idea in this book to do something sort of like this erotic thriller type thing and suspense with like demonic stuff and monsters and ghouls and all that. You could have done something unique with it, and of course you're going back to the whole secret society thing and with monsters like I mentioned, but in the end this just comes off as the bizarre love child of something like 50 Shades of Grey and friggin' Twilight in comic book form. It is that bad, or at least for me. But man, if I am a very slow reader, when I can knock this book out in less than 30 minutes, then it's telling you something. The pacing on this is just all over the place. Sometimes it's slow and drags, and then all of a sudden people are getting killed, they're getting mauled. You see all these creature transformations, all this glory sexual stuff that's going on, and the characters are all naked and doing weird, strange things to paintings. It gets weird pretty fast. Now, honestly, the creative team is what actually sold me on it, because Peter Milligan, Leandro Fernandez, Chris Peter, and Simon Bowland. Peter Milligan, I am a fan of Peter. He has done some great work on Marvel and DC and a bunch of other companies, and I was not expecting the quality to drop so significantly on this book. This character she's not what she seems. In the case of this book, she gets transformed into this monster thing, and it's the Discipline. And by the way, that is a horrible name for a secret society. The Discipline. We will discipline you. That's something the bad guys would be called. I don't know. And watch out, the Disciplines are coming, and they're after the Stalkers. We really never get an answer as to what the hell the Stalkers are, so I'll make it up. Basically, these werewolves, they want to kill people, and the Discipline's like, no, we will discipline you. That's about it. So Orlando, which is a horrible name for a lead character in my opinion, Orlando teaches what's her face, Melissa or whatever. She's cheating on, for no good reason, she's cheating on her husband with this mysterious guy, and then she gets transformed into this Martian Manhunter type thing, and they go after the stalker, and all of a sudden it switches around and tells you a completely different story about Julius Caesar and Cleopatra, which by the way was the highlight of the book. That was actually a pretty cool story, but the rest of everything in this book is just so disappointing. The characters are all over the place, the plot is super rushed. This could have been material for 3 to 4 books if you wanted to tell a cohesive, interesting, somewhat erotic story, if you will, but in the end it's just all so rushed and you don't really give a crap about it. I didn't care about anything that was going on. Now, I don't usually like to rant about these sorts of things, but I'm sorry, it's just the plot is so jumbled, it's so all over the place. You don't get a definition for what the characters are, what the society is. One of the main things that really aggravated me is that you've got this character, she gets thrown into the secret society. She's constantly asking, like, what is this? Oh, you gotta trust me. All right, I'll trust you. And then she gets put through the most devious and freakish and just sexually weird things, and she's okay with it, and she's like, I'm not gonna trust you, I don't know you. Oh, trust me, you will. Okay, really? If this is supposed to be an allegory or metaphor about sexual nature or metamorphosis, it totally missed the mark, because it ends up being a cheap story about sexual escapades and monsters killing each other. That's about it. There's no enjoyment that I can get out of something like this and say, like, this is a epic story that Peter Milligan's interwoven with character relations and all that. It has none of it. I'm sorry. And speaking of the art, I think Leandro does a fantastic job. I really am a fan of the art. That was the one saving grace in an otherwise mediocre book that I would not recommend. I love the usage of shadowing and colors that really sets it apart, and it reminds me of a Tim Sale book for some reason, and stuff you would see at the Long Halloween and stuff like that. It looks pretty decent. It looks pretty awesome. The characters are well drawn. They're well defined. And honestly, it's just a story that bogs it down. I think with more issues and a better writer for this type of story, then you would have gotten something completely different and much better, in my opinion. So guys, if you want to save yourself a couple bucks, don't get this. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching another installment, another episode of A Week in Geekdom. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and many more. Just type A Week in Geekdom and I'm there for you. And as always, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when new videos are coming up. So yeah, that's about it. I'm out. Thank you so much everybody for tuning in. I will catch you on our next video.